Oh, there's a snail under there. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Natalia Rudin. You probably already know that if you're here. This is my garden, and we're going to start shooting some long-form recipe content, which I'm really excited about because I can show you more of a detailed account of how I like to cook. Obviously, I'm kind of well known for my beans, so we felt like it was necessary to kick off the first recipe using my king of beans, which are butter beans, or technically queen butter beans. And this particular recipe doesn't really have a name, which is kind of akin to most of my cooking. It's just going to be some really lovely fried courgettes with a sort of like beanie stew mopped up with bread. We've got some lovely burrata. And I'm so excited because we're going to be able to use some courgettes from the garden. I've got my little veg troughs. It's not really a veg patch. It's more of a trough situation. We've got cucumbers, which we've got quite a few growing out. This is actually my second year growing vegetables in general, so don't take advice from me because I don't necessarily know what I'm talking about, but courgettes are super easy. These are yellow courgettes, which are super cute. I love the color and the flower's so nice. And then under here we have some rocket. Rocket and courgette, I would say, are the easiest things to grow. Tomatoes can be quite temperamental. These are really cool though. I don't know what the variety is, but they're kind of like tiger striped, and I'm excited to see what color it goes. I think it's going to be like a dark red, maybe sort of like verging on black, I don't know. And then this is green courgette. As you can see, we've got a couple growing that we might pick today. And then these are my beans. I'm a big bean girl, and I also, I love the flowers that come out of them. I think they look really pretty. And then these are my real, sorry, excuse for Cavolo Nero. And I was so excited about these because they look so structured and beautiful when they grow. Look at that. That is what you need to look out for. If you see that, you just need to basically get rid of it. I'm just gonna cut it out. Pretty early on, they got ravaged by caterpillars. These guys are, honestly, I can't even get it. Come here. These guys are basically why my Cavolo looks really sad. I'm sorry, because what are they called? Cabbage butterflies. White something cabbage butterflies,
Cabbage
Joss?
whites.
Cabbage whites. Joss is a bit of a pro at veg, so
Award-winning vegetable grower.
he's an award-winning vegetable grower. Okay, so we're gonna grab this guy, just cut him at the root. There we go. Take this one as well. Oh, left-handed cutting is not recommended. There we go. How exciting. Keep the flowers, don't throw them away. They're really, really delicious. We are just probably going to use them in and around the meal, but something that I actually really like to do with them is stuff them with mozzarella and then lightly batter them, and you can deep fry them, and delish. Let's grab this one as well, so we have a bit of variety. Look at that. That's a nice size. They're a little bit spiky, so I'm just kind of giving them a little bit of a rub down so that they are no longer spiky, you know? Okay, so one of my biggest tips when you're cooking is to kind of be quite organized. Just FYI, where we are situated, quite a few airplanes fly over us, so we're kind of working around that. It often depends on the wind, whether or not they're directly over us. Obviously, on the day we decided to start shooting, they're directly over us. But we're gonna make it work. So bear with. So I like to use these deli cups. You could use a bowl, whatever you have. You don't have to splash out. But I will just have these out so that once I finish chopping something, it goes in there. Chopping board stays clean, and then you kind of have your mise en place. And then when you start cooking, you're less likely to forget anything in what you're making, because I've done that so many times. We're gonna start by doing shallots. You can use regular onion. I just quite like the mixture of the sweetness of the shallots. I find them quite mild. Just take that off, take that off. So this is my tub full of sort of like odds and ends. I don't know what you call that. It's like food waste, basically. Also just quite handy to have. And just peel these. For slicing the shallot, I like to do one incision halfway down. That's really thin, so I'll do two. do some long slices like so. I will use my fingers as protection, and then kind of, someone explained it to me as a choo-choo train. It's like the wheels of a train or like a steam train. Your knife never, like the tip of the knife never comes off the chopping board. Also, in terms of equipment, this knife, this is a chef's knife, Santoku, and it's from a company called Kato. They do some really incredible Japanese knives. I would always say if you're going to invest in any piece of kitchen equipment, invest in a good knife, make sure it's always sharp. You're less likely to have like a serious accident if you've got a sharp knife. Mine is actually not that sharp at the moment. I need to get my whetstone out, but that's for another day. Invest in a good knife and then everything else kind of comes quite easy. I'm going to put a little bit of chili. I'm going to put a little bit of chili in mine because I like to have a little bit of heat. If you are sort of opposed to quite spicy food, you can take out the membrane and the seeds. Those are where the heat really is. I'm going to leave them in because I'm a badass. I feel like a lot of people, there's a lot of hype around knife skills, but knife skills don't make the chef. I think, you know, take your time. You don't want to have an accident. You're all going to have the same result in the end. So if you don't feel confident sort of smashing it out, don't. Just take your time. It's absolutely fine. To be honest, the end result is the most important. So it's like whatever shape you're going for. This, I would say, is dicing. And I just cut that into little strips to begin with, which you would call julienne. And then, yeah, just run your knife along it to dice it up. And then that's ready to go in there. And I'm actually just going to put everything on the side because we're going to be putting the garlic and the chili in at the same time. I absolutely despise cutting garlic, so you will always find me using a microplane or grater of some sort. I just find it is so much quicker. I'm a big garlic girl, so I usually put 4 or 5 cloves of garlic in almost everything, and then with these little bits that are sort of left over, I'll throw those in, and any lucky guy who gets that in their mouthful, happy days. Might just actually give them a little chop so that they're not as aggressive. Something else you could do with those ends if you don't want to chop them up and put them in is once upon a time, used to put them in a sandwich bag in the freezer, and then when I had a huge build-up, I'd pour olive oil over it, or put them in an olive oil bottle, and then you get like a nice garlic-infused oil. Super easy, low waste, you know? So I'm just gonna take these off for now. We'll deal with those later. I find that yellow courgettes and green courgettes have different cooking times, so I like to keep them slightly separate. I might actually just leave that one. Just gonna take off the little nubbins. And then I think today we'll go for like fairly chunky. You can really do whatever size you want. I quite like them to be about the size of a pound coin. If you go any thinner, then they do just break apart quite easily. Also, something that I do, because we're turning this into a bit of a bean stew situation, I will cook the courgettes first and then remove them and then do the garlic, onion, blah, 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 which you will see, obviously, towards the end of this video. But you can start with the onions and garlic and then add in the courgettes and then add in the beans, but they can go quite soggy, break apart. As I said, I like them to keep their shape. So that's kind of how I do it. So as we're cooking outside, I'm using this great Greenhaven little, oh my God, hob. It's from Greenhaven. You can buy these pretty much everywhere. I've gone for a really nice gauche blue color. And it's quite simple. You just buy some gas, stick it in, and you're good to go. Okay, so just turn it on. That's on. You can't see it because of the light, but it's on. I'm gonna get the pan nice and warm. I haven't cooked on this in a while, so if I start burning things, don't judge me. Okay, we'll just let that get hot. I like to use a lot of olive oil. I love the squeezy bottle. I find it so easy to use. But I think people really shy away from using a lot of oil. Firstly, it makes for cooking so much easier. And secondly, it's loaded with healthy fats. Obviously, it's better to use it towards the end where you're sort of like finishing a meal with olive oil, and then you're really going to benefit from it, especially if the oil is sort of polyphenol rich, which basically just means antioxidant rich. So when you have an olive oil that gives you that sort of bitter pepperiness, it's usually an indicator that it's really polyphenol rich. High polyphenol means antioxidant, and antioxidant obviously is really good for removing, detoxifying the body. Also, smoke points of oil, I think, is quite a hot topic. People get really nervous about that. But for olive oil to become carcinogenic, so to speak, which is the main thing people are fearful of, you have to be using it at sort of like 400 or 500 degree heat, which this is not that. I would say deep fat frying is where you don't want to use an olive oil because, I mean, deep fat frying in general is a bit questionable for health. It's obviously delicious, but yeah, don't be afraid of the smoke point of olive oil. So you'll have seen that almost immediately after putting the courgettes in the pan, I put some salt over it. That helps draw out lots of water, stops them from burning quickly. Once you have a little bit of color, caramelization, we'll just take those out. I like to just knock them over the edge. I find it a little bit easier. So you can see that one's not really a great example, but it's a nice little bit of color. They aren't completely mushy, and they're holding their shape still a little bit. And then now I'm gonna go in with the green courgettes. I'll just space them out. You can use a spoon if you've got sensitive hands. I tend to not really feel the heat that much. And again, going in with some salt. Seasoning at every stage, really, really important. Where's my spoon? There it is. So look, straight away you're getting that nice color. That's why you want to make sure your pan is really, really hot when you start. Otherwise, you kind of start steaming them when all of the water comes out. So if you've got a screaming hot pan, bit of oil, turn down the heat and then put them in and you get that lovely instant caramelization on your veg. Okay, I am just going to let those sizzle for a minute and run inside and grab some lemons and white wine. Okay. Also, how nice is my spoon? My friend made this for me. Isn't that the coolest thing ever? I'm so obsessed. I love the edge. I like how it's like spoon but flat edged. It's my friend Henry Parker. He's a tree surgeon and he made this for me as an engagement present. Love. So if you see some of your courgettes get a little bit darker than others like this, got a slight burn to it, don't be afraid of that. It's all part of the flavor. It just adds like a nice smoky element. So I'm just gonna take these out. And then in here now, we're just gonna go in with the shallots. And again, seasoning. So shallots don't take long at all to cook. If you're using a red onion or a white onion, it might take a little bit longer. It looks a little dry, so I'm gonna add some more olive oil. And maybe actually turn the heat down a bit. So now I'm gonna add in my chili and garlic. And then just cook that out for a couple seconds. I always like smush it with the back of my spoon, which is another reason why I love this spoon so much. It's perfect for that. And then white wine. This is not hugely necessary. I know a lot of people, if you're halal, you don't drink wine. So you can just use extra stock or just omit this part and add a little bit more lemon juice. But I'm using a very simple, fairly cheap, cheap-ish. You want to have a wine that you'd actually want to drink in your food. This is just a light Pinot Grigio from Italy. And we're going to add that in and then let that bubble away. So all of the ethanol is going to burn off, which is the alcohol. And you just get left with this really gorgeous, tangy, acidic flavor that in this kind of a dish, it works so well. Sorry, I just put my hand right in front of the camera. Now that that has bubbled out for a little while, I'm going to go in with my beans. These are my favorite beans. They're bold beans. Just going to pour those in, juice and all. That's my trick for getting them all out. If you wanted to, sometimes you'll see the skin has come off. I'll just pick that out because you don't really want a mouthful of skin. If you wanted to drain the beans, you can. Some people say that they make you less farty if you drain and wash them. I think gas is a sign of a healthy gut, so I don't really care. Also, if you just smash your tin against the thing, it opens really easily. I think actually I'm only going to use that much. So that was 1.5 cans, only because I haven't used that much courgette. So just gonna stir this and top it up with a little bit of chicken stock. You can use vegetable stock, whatever you have readily available. If you had a cube, that also works. And then I'm just going to let that come to a gentle boil and literally just leave it alone for a couple of minutes because I want it to slightly thicken. I've taken this off the heat now. You can see it's like slightly thick. If you feel like it's too dry and you want it to be a bit more brothy, just literally add more liquid. If I had the chicken stock still, I would add that, but the water will do just the same. And then I'm going to add in the courgettes, cooked courgettes. Make sure you get any of that juice because that is all flavor. And the residual heat from the beans will just warm those through. Cool, and then squeeze in loads of lemon juice. I really love it to be super, super citrusy. So I will usually do almost a whole lemon. I'm adding some black pepper. I don't think it needs any salt, but I will give it another try again. Try for seasoning. I made a really aggressive sound with my mouth, sorry about that. I like that a lot. The heat comes through really nicely from the chili. I think it needs a bit more lemon. Okay, so yeah, be gentle when you stir it because you don't really want to break up all of the lovely courgettes that you've got going on. And then I'm kind of lazy and I will tend to just serve things in the pot that I've cooked them in. It means there's less washing up. We don't have a dishwasher at home, so the less washing up, the better for me. Herbs you kind of always want to put in at the end. If you put them in too soon, they lose their fragrance and their pungency, but they also lose their color, and you want them to stay kind of vibrant. So I'm just taking the leaves off the stalks. Basil. We're just going to do a rough chop, so like that. And then when you're using basil, it's quite nice to just smack it. So it just kind of helps get the flavor and the scent out. It's like when you rub the leaf of rosemary or something and the smell comes onto your hand. It's the same concept. So we will just put a few things in there, save some on the side for garnish, and then give that a little gentle stir, kind of just folding it in on itself. Again, not to break up the courgettes. For the flowers, we're just going to slightly unravel the top where it's fallen in on itself, and then tear those kind of like that. And then you just have these nice strands of courgette flower. And then this part you can just get rid of. I am going to put half of these on here now. Can I pour burrata juice into the ground?
Yeah, for sure. You can also drink it.
Do you want to drink it? I don't either. It's the pine tree can have it. So I've got some nice burrata. Slightly open it and have it kind of running there. Bit of sea salt on there. Bit of olive oil on there. So much fun with the squeezy bottle. And then we've just got our leftover herbs, which I will kind of have running across. Some lemon zest. This isn't really working because it's half lemon, but that's fine. And then also some black pepper, always dressed from high up, and then you get more, you cover more surface area. There you have it. This is my courgette and bean stew with burrata, courgette flour, lemon, chili, basil, and mint. Usually when I make a bean stew like this, my vessel for eating it is a good piece of bread. So I'm gonna go toast these. Go again, go again. Just put a little bit of oil on here.
That's like, that's also like full zoom as well. Like in that mouth.
Perfect for summer. This is one of my favorite kinds of meals to eat. I just love how it's kind of comforting, but also fresh. And obviously the courgettes are grown in my garden, so they taste so sweet and delicious. And the lemon juice just kind of like lifts it all up. Recipes in the caption. That is so sweet. You have a little make-out session with the dog. He can high five. Oscar, come here. He can do high 10. Come. Sit. High 10.